All right, guys, it is Wednesday night. It's 7 o'clock Central, and it is time for another episode of our weekly conversations with Cougars. And you know I do not have to introduce my guest, but I am going to do my very best. Coach Floyd Griffin is our guest tonight, and I can't tell you how excited I am for him to be on with us. He is one of the legendary coaches of our school. Coach Griffin taught at Northview for over 30 years. He's taught the school system over 35 years. And he has been a pastor and a preacher and a counselor to so many youth and folks in the Dothan area. Coach Griffin, welcome to the show, and it's so good to see you.
Thank you, and good to be here. Been a long time in contacting, but we're here, and I'm just excited to know that we still have some Cougars that are alive out there that's willing to come forward and say they are a Cougar, because I'm one for life.
We are all Cougars for life. And if there's anybody, in my humble opinion, who has epitomized the Cougar spirit, the Cougar pride, it's our guest this evening, Coach Griffin. Coach, for folks who hadn't caught up with you in a while, maybe hadn't seen you around campus or around town, I know you're a very active man in the community. What are you doing these days? Can you share a little bit about what keeps you busy? I know you've got two grown daughters, beautiful daughters, and you've got a slew of grandkids that I know keep you busy. So what else is going on in your world these days?
The biggest thing now, I'm ministering every day, whether I'm in town or not. I'm in revivals and meetings and so forth, especially since I come back off my episode that put us down for a little while. We're back and we're going stronger than ever. Loving what we do, but we're in the office, my church office every day, and Cougars come by all the time just to say a word or see how I'm doing and so forth. And I appreciate that. They just don't know exactly how much, but I really appreciate it. I wish I could be there every time they come back, but I can't. I'm on a mission, whether it's senior citizen homes or whatever the case might be, or just the youth in the community. We trying to touch base with them all the time. So it's a great feeling when you can go and then you reflect back and you say, hey, I've had some of these parents, I've had some of these grandparents. I think my oldest student is about 62. So we've been around a little while, and we haven't regretted not one moment. I love to be called a legendary Cougar. That's really people do it all the time. I've taken trips in the gym now. Even though it's a new school, I've taken trips there, and people still have special seating for me and this type of thing. So I'm just happy at this point in my life. I'm happy to be a part of what's going on. What you've done is unreal. To have people gravitate to the program and to have people just to chime in on what's going on Wednesday. And this is a busy night for me, but I want so much to help this particular situation. And I was pushed, I must admit, I was pushed by wife and daughter and the whole group. You've got to go on. We get tired of their phone calls, and not from a standpoint of negativity, but they just come in and so they've had to take care of business from a church and outside ministry and so forth while we were sick a little bit, and so we're just glad that they had the nerve to step in. They didn't know exactly what they were doing a lot of times because it was new, and so I've always done it, and so we're here tonight to just, like you said, I have a good time. I didn't take away from activities that I had scheduled tonight. I didn't take away to come in with a sad face or anything like that. I want some more life to come into place And of course, I'm here to just do some things. I go on because the wrong thing to do is to put a mic in front of the preacher's face like mine, and 'cause I can't stop talking. But I'm excited more than anything else. I'm excited, and I hope that we can come out with a lot of positive tonight.
Do y'all hear that energy? That energy has always been there. That upbeat and attitude, that I'm going to get it done. We're going to do some good. I love every bit of what you just said, Coach. I owe an apology to Kenyana for just bugging the crap out of her for about a year and a half, but I'm so glad you're here. And speaking of here, Coach, and I want to apologize ahead of time to all the folks who are watching tonight, because there is a slew of you. I'm going to try and run through the names, but they roll so quick, Coach. But you're going to recognize this roster: Andy Johns, Patrick Fitch, David Mims, Craig Butler, Keith Rice, Laura Sermon Hatcher, Coach Randy Hicks, Tracy Catalope, Josh Parrish, Preston Hatcher, Chris Holmes, Kimberly Santos Raspberry. I'm telling you, Coach, they're here for you tonight.
Oh my! Oh, when you mentioned, I want to echo on just a few. All of them mean a whole lot. When you mentioned Big Andy, and I've seen him maybe once or twice, but I think he was in Everville or somewhere around the city. But people like that who we had to have anchor football teams and so forth, and he had to do a extra good job. The rest of them that you call and the teacher's pet like Laura Sermon, it's Hatcher now, but she always wanted to be in charge of my classes, and I had a daughter too, and her daughter said that she was the better person at helping me than her mother was, and that's what gave me the joy to know that we had people to come through Northview who had the concern, and so I was able to say something that might have trickled them to do something better in life, and of course I was at her Laura Sermon's daughter's wedding, and what a thrill I had just to be in the midst of a little girl that just ran around all the time, and now she's married. But it means so much to hear that they are chiming in, and they're doing things positively in the community that they might be living. I'm excited.
I am too. And I skipped a couple accidentally. Mark Saffold has joined us, and Damon Glasgow. And guys, of course, I've got Coach Floyd Griffin with us tonight. Coach, you were there at the beginning of Northview, 1978. You were part of the initial group of teachers who helped found the school. You were part of the first coaching staff and coaches. And I know that you coached multiple sports over the years. But I want to try to take you back to that time just a little bit, when 75, 76, 77 time period, when there was probably chatter in the community, particularly education community, that Dothan High School was just too big in terms of the number of students given the size of the building. And the school had been around 70, 80 years at that point.
Yeah.
But now there was talk about adding a new high school. Do you remember the build up of that need?
It was something to behold. I think I came into the system in '76 and very new at education altogether, but it began to be something that I was going to use the educational process. I was going to use it in order to go into law school, and I did not come into being education, but just a pastime. But then I began to, that first class, at Dothan or what have you, I began to love the interaction from the students. And of course, when at that point in time, yes, it was a lot of talk in the community that we needed another school, and where was it going to be located? How we're going to house this group that goes there at such a short notice. So all of that took place, and then when Coach Parrish, our leader, had a chance to get the job, he came to me and said, "Hey, you need to go with me." And so I had just been hired at Dothan by Philip Creel, and then to have him tell me, "Look, I need you to go with me," and so I was really reluctant because I didn't know a whole lot about what I was doing, and I didn't want to put anybody in a band. So I think what happened, they allowed a lot of rookie coaches and so forth to get together, going to Northview. It might last a couple of years and it'll be over. We have to move a few more in, and we had a good time. We were very close. That first group, we were very close, and I remember the first time that Coach Parrish and I got together in trying to come to Northview. I remember we sat down and we start like you pick one, I pick one, assistant coach from that we can depend on, and of course my first choice was Randy Hicks. I had worked with him in when I hit the city. He called me to work with him for a while, but it was just a relationship that we had from times past, and so as a result of that, we start picking the coaches as we saw fit that we could work out in our program. All of them were young, and so I'm thankful that I was initial part of that group. I wish they had called me a little later because we had to put the grass down on the football field, and I didn't think I had to be a coach, and then you put the grass on the field, and we were sprigging grass, doing all those things, and by hand and everything else. So I didn't appreciate that part until I started really thinking, those sleepless nights that we had, looking at film, and because we were tired, we had to try to put a plan together, a real football plan. And so we managed to do these things not because of our knowledge of the game, but it was because of hard work. And as a result, we found that little niche that we could use in order to put a good program together. And we said in a meeting that nobody was going to outwork us. We had a fierce leader. He was on our case, and I say, you just take the offense and run some plays that we can score with, and we'll do whatever we can do defensively to stop people. And so I knew that it would work, and we worked hard to make it work. We were together a lot of times and at night, and so that was the kind of input program that we had. Nobody knew a whole lot about what was going on, but we took it as a genuine step toward making Northview a school of champions, and man, did it happen.
It sure did. Now, Coach, that spring of '78, before Northview had opened its doors that fall, you guys held your first spring training practice at Rip Hughes.
I don't like to go back there, but it was so tough. It was muddy every day, raining, muddy every day, and my wife had, I think I can tell this, my wife had false alarms every day, and I had to. That's when Kiana was in the process, and of course, we're going through all those muddy days. I'm getting a phone call that she's in labor, which she was not. It was just false alarms and so forth. But we had a great time. We had a lot of support. We had a great support system. People were willing to help and so forth. And but we had to keep the season going. We had to keep things going to make sure that we were on top of our goals that we had set for Northview High School.
Well, Coach, were you surprised to see that over 100 players came out that spring training? Was that shocking, or did you expect that size
I
number of
expected it.
guys?
I expected it. It was at first I said, well, they'll be talked into moving and going to Dothan High and this type thing. But then I started thinking, I started riding the community. I wanted to make sure that where everybody was. And so as a result of riding and talking to parents, and I knew all of them. And so I wanted to make sure that they were really going to Northview, changes was taking place overnight. Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that they were truly going. We missed a few, but that was okay. Kid wanted to stay there. That was fine. We beat them like we wanted to anyway. But that was a good time when we were able to do that. So we're here tonight on a we're on a run to do something else, and hopefully I can mention it later on in our talk. But it's some things that it's been bothering me for a while since we've been away from Northview High School.
Well, Coach, let me pause you for a second because they keep rolling in. I'm telling you, these folks are here for you tonight. Carla Gilroy, Joseph Johnson, Sissy Carol Reynolds, Stan Hatcher, Scotty Edwards, Jason Mullins. Oh, guys, man. Where we're headed tonight, Shirley C's record of the most watched show may be in jeopardy tonight. We're going to see. We're going to see. And Miss C had a conflict for tonight. She wanted me to share her love with you and said she will watch tomorrow, and she's going to get in touch with you pretty soon.
It was on purpose, but that's okay. I'll accept it. We had the best relationship. I always call her the junior principal because she was in charge of a whole lot of things that took place, and we had a great time. I wanted to make sure that she knew everything that was going on around the school because I was a little general. And so I had to keep command of things around the school, and we had a great principal, and he gave us all the respect that we needed in order to move forward, and that was great. But Shirley C was right in the middle of it. I call her Sunshine.
Sunshine. And we're going to come back to the administration in just a second because, Coach, some of those early players are just rolling in. How about Slim McDuffie? How about Bud Young? Oh. We got James Dawsey. Thank you, guys. And I had Andy Johns on recently, and he talked about that first spring training and two things. One, it was so tough because you guys were trying to figure out who were football players. But the other thing is he learned so many lessons from that first spring training. It really set him on the right path. So if you ever doubt, and I know you don't, if you ever doubt the influence of a football coach has on a student athlete, I mean, that's right there. Charles Kelly Bronson says to tell you hello.
Charlie Bronson. I want to call names out and do all that. I don't have time. We be here all night, and I promise everybody that I'm affiliated with in Dothan that I wouldn't take all night. But the thing about it, when I can hear those names and I go back and look at every yearbook and so forth, and I see the pictures then. I know I won't see the same picture now, but the pictures then will just give me that reflection that I need in order to push to the next level. That's why I'm thankful that we had this opportunity.
Me too. And we got Brian Jackson and Twyla Phelps Williams also joined us.
Oh,
I want you to talk about Dr. Smith and the first administration and getting into that new school spirit. What was it like? Because y'all had a brand new building, everything was brand new when you were first starting out.
Look, we had so many people who gravitated from the community to come on board after they saw we were about working hard. Our principal was a giant of a leader because he gave everybody an opportunity. He gave you the freedom to do your job. And of course, when you didn't do your job, you didn't want to go before him because he was firm, but he was a great principal, and he made sacrifices. He was ministry too, and he made a lot of sacrifices to be in situations when he could have been somewhere else. But the administration, you can't beat a Common Moon and people like that. Those people were dedicated to the cause. And if I ever saw a principal that was so concerned about Northview High School, it was Dr. James A. Smith. And I think kids everywhere, whether they were part of our institution or not, have your smiling faces and use your places. Don't meet me there, beat me there. And then he would jump up and click his heels. That everybody was coming off the rails and so forth because of the excitement. And we never had a pep rally where it was a silent situation. We had people, like I say, with Laura. She was dealing with the pep club, and Chile had it easier, and you will have it easier when you have a great pep club, and that continued before long. Another star who didn't weigh but 90 pounds. That was Sheila Brown Goodman. She led a group of peppers down the line and so forth. And we had great support from the people. They followed them, and I'm proud of the cheerleaders. They did a tremendous job, even though I didn't see them a whole lot because unless it was a pep rally, but I was too focused in a game to even think about what the cheerleader was doing. But I know they did a great job because I saw some of the banners, I saw some of the ribbons, I saw some of the things that they had worn with national cheering camps and so forth. And I knew they did a good job. And my hats off to, like always, to Sylvia Hemby, who started that thing going, and she did a great job in introducing those girls to a greater means of cheering and supporting that particular team. Apparently, I can't say enough about it.
Coach, I got to pause you because they're rolling in. Mark Reeves, Michelle Andrews, Revis Gertman. Now, one of your best sayings that everybody loves, and I can't say it in your voice. When you scream out, you don't want it. Now, Coach, I want to take you to a Friday night pregame at Rip Hughes. We're in the home team locker room. Coach is about to give his final remarks. The band is directly above us in the stands. Student body is all around them. I can remember the feeling of all that energy coming down, pumping us up. Did you have any rituals? Did you have any pregame things that you always liked to do at Rip Hughes that got you mentally into the game? I know you were already focused, but were there certain things that really brought you into more focus?
And I was already. So I couldn't depend on getting to Rip Hughes before the activity in my mind was flowing. I always got it together when you get in dress for the game. Then that to me was always the hype of the night because there you wanted to make sure that everything was together. Nobody left any equipment, all those things. Even though we had some tremendous managers and so forth, I mean, a great job. They did a great job, but I like to see people like Scabdula, and people like that who really committed to being a manager and being a good one. So ritualistically, I had some things that I might have done within myself before, like I said, before we got to the stadium, because it was game on when we got to the stadium. I couldn't I couldn't hear nothing from the stands when we got there because you were so focused, and every coach had their little thing of what they did, and you were so focused on trying to outmaneuver that team, outdo what they had already done in their practice that week, and you get a scouting report, you go through it, and so we couldn't have had a better scout than Coach Bubba Johnson. He was a great football coach. People don't realize it, but he did 100 other things while practice going on, and that was him. He was multitasking, and he worked 7 days a week. He got me angry because he worked so much. But he was a great scout, and I'd go with him, and we scout games and so forth, and all of a sudden we're looking, and I said, but what happened then? He said, no, this and that happened. Write it down. So I was writing things down, and I couldn't see how he was even looking. I'm looking at not only the game, I'm looking at the people, the fans, and so forth, because I wanted to know what kind of fan base they had. And so that would help me determine what kind of support they would have when the game started. And so we looked at that. But I was so hard pressed to win like everybody else was. I can hear, and I don't know whether she's still around or not. Rebecca Coggins, excuse me. And before the game, when you know your focus, and she was over the rail, don't get those safeties back. Get the safeties back. We hadn't run a play yet, but get the safeties back. Make sure they back. But she knew that plan, and so a lot of parents, I can't say enough about the hard work that they did leading up to a game experience. Those kids that we had, including yourself, never had to worry about things other than playing football. You could be focused on football because we had a good parent base or fan base that was there to do the rest of it, and that was meaningful to me. To know that I didn't have to carry water and I had to do all those things that others wanted to do before the game or during the course of the week. We had parents lined up on the practice field, giving out everything from popsicles to you name it. But that was just a good thing, and Chili's on the inside, giving you goodie bags on the inside, and some people might say it doesn't mean anything. It does mean a whole lot.
Oh, it means tremendous.
To fight for your team, your school, and all of a sudden you have people coming from everywhere. They line up on the field before the game, and you running through there. It has to send chills through your veins and so forth, because you know what's going on.
The support was tremendous between the families, the parents, the teachers, the quarterback club. You're so right. But Coach, one of your former defensive backs who's done all right for himself, Michael Henry, is with us tonight. Eric Dawsey has joined us, and I can't tell you how many former players I've had on this show who have said that the coaching staff prepared the team so well during the week, and the practices were so tough, physically, mentally, that Fridays, not every Friday, but a lot of Fridays were not nearly as difficult from that standpoint because of the preparation during the week. The one-on-ones inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough.
And running until you score.
Yeah.
Now, some situations I got with Coach Hicks, I said, just let them score because we're going to be here all night. Some nights we had car lights pulled up to the field, because we had to get it down. We had to get the job done. And when I can see people that was on your 85 championship team, like Mike Henry and Mark Reeves in there, I think I heard you call him. And Mark was a unusual player. His father died, in the middle of a season situation. I had to play daddy for him because he meant so much to me. Mike Henry was a bona fide leader. He wanted to make sure he would call me on Christmas, during Christmas holidays. He had gotten all the guys at the mall. Coach, come out here. We got something for you to do. You get out there. Mike Henry want to know who was the best that you ever had. I mean, that was his whole thing, and because he was so excited, and he rallied the troops together the whole time because he had such great leadership ability. And it still goes on today. I watch him sometime now. I try not to get close to him when he participated in the game, but you know, he was so he was so influential with those guys that he made a big difference. And I see him all the time. He's had death lately in his family, and we were couldn't get there, but we talked after that, and of course it meant so much to him. I think Coach Parrish was there with him to support the death, and so we have to have somebody on our side sometime in order to just whisper things in our ear. We don't realize the importance of it until it not happen. But when coming through Northview High School, if you didn't catch the spirit, something was wrong with you. I mean, it was there all week. And on Friday, I love my teachers, because on Friday the teachers dressing up, performing at pep rallies and so forth. I said, they are acting so silly, but you know, they did it out of the love for the kids, and then it made you have to work harder in the classroom. And so when you were back, when you had that feel on the inside that even my teachers are behind me. They're not giving me anything. They're making me work hard in the classroom because they knew I had a future in the sport. So that's the kind of school we had. I mean, it was unreal. The custodial staff, a whole group was there to support, to give whatever they could give as far as Northview High School athletics, not just football, but athletics.
Well,
Coach, we are very fortunate. Very fortunate.
That's going to lead me to my next topic, but I got to tell you, Heather Mae Johnson, Roy Evans, Tracy Cantaloupe are all here for you tonight.
Oh,
now
Tracy Cantaloupe.
I want to go ahead, Coach.
Well, I was just going to say Tracy was a quiet fella. He was a hard worker. He made it on out. A lot of people didn't want him to, but he made it on out to Arkansas. And you know, was all SEC type player, and really turned out well. And I really appreciate those guys. They worked extremely hard to make it work, and they knew what I expected before the season started. I'd have a talk with them. They knew exactly what I expected, and they gave everything they had. I didn't have. I was working, but they knew the instruction. You know, if you had to go down the line, if you wanted to be a part of this team, you had to go down the line. You had to do certain things to be a part of the secondary and outside linebackers, because it was what we needed. And so I'm thankful, very thankful that I had just a small part in making the lives of young people better while I was at Northview.
Well, Coach, it's you've always had a way with communication, whether you're counseling and talking to your students or your athletes. But Chris Holmes just brought up a real good point. There would be certain times in practices and in games, you wouldn't have to say a word. You just give a look. And that player knew that he had done wrong for that play, and he'd better know what to do better next time. So it was a look sometimes. But before, am I wrong or am I right?
You're right. Because like I said, we had expressed or explained everything about the game plan, about what we had to do on Friday night. all of that was taken care of. So all I had to do is send you through a few drills, and you either had to be ready or you're not. And so we developed a lot of things, pre-practice and so forth, around the horn, pre-practice and doing all those things. And I like to have had the pole. I love to see guys jump the pole. It was punishment, but it was the best punishment you could have because it helped you in your drills, those who were still standing.
That's a key phrase right there. Those who are still standing.
So when you mentioned Chris Holmes, because he was your receiver. But if you wanted a pinpoint pattern, he was smart enough to run that pattern. He was not going to run it fast, but he was going to run it. On the other side, you had a David Hogan who just get me the ball. Just get me the ball.
That's exactly right.
He didn't run no pattern. He had time because he was trying to get down the field to catch the ball.
He just had world-class speed. That's what he had.
Oh, yeah, that's what he said. World-class speed.
Well, and Coach, I want to step away from football for 2 minutes, and I want to talk about track. Carlisle Morris was on our show recently. Carlisle was a huge football fan, friends of many of the athletes, but he also ran track for you. Let's talk about track and its importance in part of your coaching, because you were not just football related. You also had a very successful track program.
We had a tremendous program. Let me just start from the beginning of it. In the earlier years, I don't know whether you are familiar with the Baptist Bottom, where most hung out. But that group was runners. We had about nine long distance runners that we could use at any given point. And we had a tremendous program in track, and it was not really recognized because we didn't have a great facility. We had to get on the road all the time. They made sacrifices every Saturday. We tried not to run them during the week because we were in big meets, whether it be in Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, or what have you. We wanted to run against the best because they trained. They really trained. I was hard on them, and I knew if I was hard on them, they were going to produce at the end. And so Carlisle was one. I just talked to a guy the other day. He was talking about Carlisle, and he said he believed that the whole team was not really concerned about themselves as much as they were Carlisle Myers because he worked so hard. And when he finally, his senior year, he finally qualified to go to state. You talking about a bus ride back home. Everybody was cheering. I mean, we stopped at the restaurant and everybody cheering Carlisle. But Carlisle was a workaholic. And I knew he was going to be successful. But he did it day in and day out. And I appreciated him for doing that. We had several great tracks to come through Northview, and on that year or so later, we had Stephanie Brown. We call her Lynn, and she was 4-time All-American at Troy. Ken Banks was a 3-time All-American at Troy. The tracks just went on, and Mark Reeves was a high jumper in track. Harris Stanley, one of your other receivers, was one of the premier sprinters in the state. Because of hard work, and we had some girls that were unreal because they ran all of the time. And of course, we're coming out. I have a list that's coming out a little later. Matter of fact, probably this month, March 1, where we had five girls from that era of track and field who going to be running in the national senior citizen in I think it's Orlando or somewhere in that area. I'm gonna get the information out later. But they qualified to go to nationals, and so they still running. They're still running, and that's when I got that information, it just thrilled my soul. We had a lot of tracks with Camaro West. I kept out of. She was one of the best hurdlers in the state. I kept out the state meet because she had a personal problem, a sight problem, and she thought the world of me, but she didn't that time because she wanted to win the state. But I was concerned about her seeing and sight more so than running. She was a pivotal part of our relay teams and so forth. But we pitched in. We did still qualified and so forth. She went on to Auburn and she was all SEC at one point in the hurlers, and she was a tremendous player. The Knights, Christina Knight, she was went to Alabama. I mean, it was so many that went on to school to run track, and others could have, but they chose the military. I was glad of that. But at least they didn't stay around the city. They went off somewhere. But everywhere we went, everybody had great track teams in 6A and at that point in time. And so we had to compete. We had to do everything we could to compete. And I knew all the coaches. So worst thing you can do is get around a bunch of coaches and they're gonna brag about what they have and so forth. And when our kids got off the bus, Jeff Davis was probably one of the better teams. They got off the bus yelling JD, we want JD. Why? Because they were prepared to run against JD. Yeah. And so it didn't bother them. So wherever Jeff Davis was gonna be, they wanted us to be in the same meet, because they know it was going to be competitive. Yeah. And so that's the kind of thing that we did in tracking. And I can name them one by one because they did such a tremendous job. I think that was DeVellis Butler, who I was talking to, and who's now in local police department. But he was talking about how we did track wise, and another kid, Tyrus Turner, who was doing your years there. He ran an anchor leg on the 4x4 relay team, and we was at the state meeting in Selma, and all of a sudden he hit the corner and the baton went up in there. I said, he better catch it. He gonna walk back home. It was pressure. Yeah. Because you running against people from Williamson in Mobile, Davidson, Viger. I mean, they were there, and all of our section was there. So you had to run. You had to make sure that you did everything right, or you was going home sad. But that's one of the better sports that one can participate in when you're not as talented as maybe in football or basketball or what have you. You can do track, and that's what I encourage them to do. And they all turned out well. I mean, Bruce Johnson. Bruce Johnson was one of our better kids. He was so slow his freshman year at Northview. I just didn't really want to deal with him because he was too slow for me. And because we were handling sprinters that were unreal. But Bruce told me something before he passed. He said, Coach, I really want you at my Hall of Fame induction at Tuskegee. Mm-hmm. I was on the road. I was doing something. I really couldn't make it that Friday night. He said, I really want you to be there Friday night because I'm putting you in my speech. And I said, I won't be there Friday night, but I'll be there Saturday morning. And my wife and I got up and was up there, and he didn't even deal with his Hall of Fame inductees. He was so focused on whether or not we were doing okay. He brought us everything, food and everything to us, and it was so good and he didn't have to. This guy did a project. His last project as an engineer was with Warren Buffett. We're talking about the second richest in the country, and they were over in China. And he called me. He said, when I leave here, I can retire. I said, don't retire. Just make more money and send Coach some. But that's those kind of people that we had, and he was slow, but he got out and ran track in order to get the scholarship to Tuskegee, and as he majored in engineering.
Guys, do y'all hear, Coach? I want to pause you for just a second. That passion is still there, and I love hearing it, and we all love hearing it, because it meant so much to you, and you mean so much to them back then and now. Name another group of athletes that will allow their coach to drive them up to Headland and you tell them, you just run on back to school. Name another group of athletes where you had them running, tell me if I'm wrong now, where you had them running in combat boots so they could train their legs a little better. Coach, it's a tribute to the way you treated them, the way they responded, and how they developed. And speaking of others, Coach, Josh Cobb, Brian Marsh, Faye Flowers Phillips, and Shirley C. has joined us. She said you hadn't changed a bit, Coach.
She got the word.
She got the word. Now, Coach, I want to flip back for a few minutes to football, and really bigger than football. I want to talk about the importance of sports, whether it's team sports or individual sports. It doesn't matter for this topic. Why are sports important to the development of a young person as they're coming through adolescence, as they're coming through teenage times, trying to figure out the world? Why are sports important?
Well, it calls you to make individual decisions. It's about decision making. When you're in sports, every sport offers something to where you have to make a decision, whether it's football or basketball or baseball. If I don't get the signals right in baseball, I'm doing one thing and coaches, they give me another signal. Everything has a determination theory behind it. I always thought that if a person was an athlete, I didn't care what you did. If you're an athlete, it's going to cause you to be more disciplined. Somewhere along the line, you got to discipline yourself, or you won't stay with the sport. I don't care what the sport is, but you won't stay with it if you're not disciplined. So that discipline can't come from the coach telling you got to do this, and the other. It's two words that I always deal with now, and that's integrity. What are you doing when the coach not listening or looking? Your character. John Wooden said, you can come to UCLA when they were winning all those championships. You can come to UCLA with your talent, but your character will keep you here. And I always went with that. You can come to Northview with your talent, but your talent not just gonna get it, but just for a little while. But now, when the coaches are not looking, when you slack up in your practice or rehearsals, then who's looking at you? Nobody's looking at you, so you got to do it the proper way. And that's what we've always all drilled in young people. I don't remember a time when I chose a group of kids to be a starting group. They chose it themselves because of who worked, and they pushed certain people in front in football because they worked harder than they did. I'm gonna tell you this kid, out of all the kids I've ever, and I call them kids, they still kids. Out of all the kids I've ever coached, there's one kid that always stood out. And I hope he's listening somewhere, and that's Shane Wood. Shane was not a great athlete. He could have started anywhere else except Northview, we had 7 people in front of him that were great athletes, and he that was just his mode. But he said, "Coach, don't worry about me." You know, he was that kind of person, and that really made me cry sometimes. How can you be so nice and you're not playing that much? And so so I finally realized the heart that he had, the Christian heart that he had. He was always trying to help somebody, even in football. And you're not really playing a lot, but you're always trying to help people. And so I call him out everywhere I go because, see, that's the kind of person. If I had a boy, I want him to be in my home. That's how much I cared about him, and he know it. But it was just, he came along at the wrong time, and you know, and he know that, and so you know, all those people will develop great attitude. That's what we look at, and I don't look at it so much while they're playing, but after they play, after they finish. Yeah. Can I see you in the mall? Can I see you in a grocery store? Are you still with your children? You know, are you if your family is still together? And you know, sometimes we have to look at things and look at what we put in it. You don't put anything in, you don't get anything out. You know, it's no free rides out there. It wasn't then, it's not now. If you're gonna have the freedom, you're gonna have to work for it. And hard work creates the freedom that you need. You know, you can't, there's no substitute for hard work. Yeah. You do it the hard work, and you do it the right way. You know, you put your all in it. I do it now. As a preacher pastor, I put everything I have into it. I spent a lot of hours just meditating on because see, I got to present the best thing to the people. And so I always do that. I have the enthusiasm because I'm alive. You know, I'm alive and well, regardless of what the reports might have said. You know, but I'm so happy. I'm happy to be a part of this Northview Cougar group. And while you we were talking about track, and I have my daughter right here with me, and she her group she was on 4x4 relay team, and they were on the way to state. They were state contenders. You know, by 4x1, and she was just, I mean 4x4, and she was just looking, and she, oh my goodness, when you mentioned the Hetland and the Kentsey and those places running, she could identify with those because she was my daughter, but she had to run it too. And so we'll talk about daughter, father when you get home. But the thing about it, everybody had to do the same thing. There was nobody cut short because they might have been a better athlete. No, you're gonna run it too. And so a lot of people wanted to be on our side of the ball, but they couldn't stand the pressure.
That's so, right.
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure over there. And I didn't have to, like I said, I didn't have to say a whole lot. I depended on those guys who were older, who were leaders and so forth. They did the job. I told them what I wanted, and they did it. I just stood there and watched them.
Absolutely. Now, Coach, is there any truth to the rumor that Kenyatta also had to wear combat boots, Army boots, when she did her training? Or is that just a rumor?
It is a rumor.
Okay. Okay. Now, going back to your very, very fine comments and high praise for my longtime, lifelong buddy, Shane Wood. He's still doing those same things, Coach. He's still the same man. You knew him as a 17, 18-year-old. And that's mighty fine praise that you've given to him. Now, Coach, I want to take you to a particular time and date, and let's see if you remember. And I told you I wasn't going to do it, but there's one thing. Did you pass out at any Northview games during your coaching career? Was there one particular game?
I don't remember, but let me go back quick, and my daughter laughing, and she understands. I must confess, because I'm on the witness stand. I must confess that I did pass out, and our illustrious principal came over, leaned over, said, "You gonna make it. You gonna make it, coach. You gonna make it." And I'm down there. I didn't know what was going on, but it was against Jeff Davis. We had bust our behind trying to break films down, trying to do all that work. And you know, I didn't know it. I just passed out. And so Dr. Smith tried to help me to get up, and I didn't even know where I was. But I did. The rumor is right. It was true to it. I did pass out, but I was all right. I passed out because of excitement.
Yeah.
And by the time it got back home, somebody said I had a heart attack, and a whole lot of things that I had. And my mother was going wild, ballistic, because she didn't know what was going on. But you know, those things happen because I put everything I had in it. You know, it's been times. It's been times even at home. Back then we had those reel-to-reel film, and I'm coming downstairs, and all of a sudden they coming downstairs and they see me. The film is all on the floor and everywhere else because I gone to sleep, and so you know you have to, you know, it's things that you have to do in order to get the job done. I work just as hard now. People get on me about working so hard. I can't help it. That's just in my DNA to work hard in order to get the job done.
Speaking of hard work, number 25, Steve Ince has joined us tonight, Coach. Woo! Josh Andrews has joined us. And Coach Hicks says, after that Jeff Davis game, Dr. Smith said to you, this is not heaven, but it's real close.
I mean, he didn't care about me. He was just talking about the game.
Well, that's debatable. That's debatable, Coach. Matt Rugger has just joined us, Coach. Guys, I'm talking, of course, with Coach Floyd Griffin. We're running through some good times. And Coach, we're getting close. I could keep you here for now until the sun comes up tomorrow, but I'm gonna respect your time and energy and what we're talking about tonight. And I've got a couple more things I want to run by you. But
let me say this before you get to that, because
yes,
I was looking at a picture, and the picture was the best combo running back group that we've ever had. I think was Steve Ince and Dwight Jones. They were in the backfield together, and they were a twosome to handle. I mean, they were both complete athletes, and I think you know, the more you aggravated Dwight Jones, the worse it got. It was best if you picked him up after you hit him or what have you. But Ince was so competitive. He was sticking in there. I mean, I hadn't seen a twosome. There's been other good running backs and so forth, but not a twosome like that. They blocked for each other. They carried it the way it's supposed to be done.
Add number 31, Philip Braswell, in there, and you got a heck of a backfield.
Oh my goodness, what a hard hitter.
Now, as soon as those guys graduate, or as they're graduating, who comes right behind them? Doug Jones and Woo Woo. That's a backfield right there.
They were, and I look at those two. Doug Jones was an automatic as a freshman. He could have played on anybody's team as an 8th grader.
He was coming over in 7th and 8th grade to Northview.
Yeah, you know, he could have played on anybody's team as an 8th grader, because see, he has so much talent. It just needs to be developed. And all he needed was somebody to help mold him. He would give you everything he had. I won't forget the coaches after we were in the 81 championship game, and the coaches said, "We want him." I said, "No, you can't have him. He's a freshman." You know, whatever. He got time at Northview, so so he was just that good. And when University of Tennessee came down, they recruited him hard, and he He went on to Tennessee, but Doug was an unreal player. Woo Woo, he could play anywhere. He could play anywhere on the field. We had to have him at running back. He would have been a DB all the way. So we could just only deal with him on special situations. But he went on to UT Chattanooga and did a great job there. So the whole gamut of players that have come through Northview, we've had a football powerhouse.
We have, and I've had the pleasure and honor of having both Steve Ince and Woo Woo and Doug Jones on the show in the past several months. I'm hoping we'll have many, many more. But Coach, I want to talk about the 81 team, but more particularly, I want to talk about your defensive backfield. Every one of those guys ended up playing on the next level. Every one of those guys set such a high bar for all the DBs who came behind them. Pi Whaley. Let's start any of them. How awesome was that to coach such special athletes?
Let me go to the free safety first and get him out the way, because John Cat was an unreal free safety back there. I think it was about 6 of them that he knocked out during the course of the year. I'm not talking about knocked down pretty hard. He knocked them out. And he didn't know what he was doing. He just a courageous hitter that wanted to punish people. And he was a great free safety. Oh gosh. Pat Whaley, I never will forget, he was playing Murphy, and my memory coming back. We were playing Murphy of Mobile. They had Patrick Smith, Joe Smith,
Pat Washington.
Mm-hmm. And you talking about Joe Smith was unreal hurler. He was number 2 in the nation at one time. And Pat Washington was a pinpoint, passer. And Whaley knocked the ball away. Whaley didn't have great speed. He was smart. He was a smart football player. And he knocked the ball away. And they would drive it in, knocked it away, and we won the game. Of course, that game was at Rip Hughes. Kershaw Bird, another one I had to take on as father, more so than one would ever imagine. He lost his father, and one game, Kershaw came out with a broken finger, and they hid him from me because I wouldn't have allowed him to go back in the game. They hid him from me, and he had his head down because it was paining him. And so I usually watch them as they come out because I don't want them out there injured. And so they got him and pushed him back on the field because they wanted him out there. They falsified some tape, put some tape on there, said he was doing good. And so the next play, he broke another one. 2 fingers. Wow. In one game. His mother had turned him over to me, so she went wild with it, but she was happy because he respected me so much, and of course we had a good relationship. With all those, we had another kid, Vance Amerson.
Yep.
And Amerson was a good player. He was a backup. Darren Chatham. He came from Daleville or Dale County, and they were backup. They could play for anybody else. I mean, they could start for anybody else. And so we had tremendous players, and I tried, if a guy busted up during the week, you got to play somewhere on Friday night. It doesn't matter. You're gonna be in a few plays here or there, because of your work ethics. And so that's what the 81 team was all about. it was more work in the secondary than it was up front. And they had begun to tell those linemen, if y'all get tired, if you let him through, we're gonna knock him out anyway. And the other one was Leon Myers, about 5'4", was a headhunter, went on to play college ball. And Leon was, he was a hitter. He was not fat or anything like that. He was just a hardcore player. He carried the flag at the end of the game, 81 championship game against Carver, Birmingham, and he that was another game that Pat Whaley came through on because that quarterback was deadly. They had a great quarterback. He knocked the pass down. We won the game 7-6. Tremendous players at Carver, Birmingham. But I told him after the game, I told the coach after the game, we had better players than but I didn't mind bragging on a little bit because our kids worked hard. If they had slouched around with it, different, but they worked extremely hard in order to make things happen.
Well, Coach, that was the 4th year of the school's program. And to go 13-1 and to win the 6A title, that's unheard of. And I regard that team, that season, as the number one team in the history of the 41 years of the program because of how dominant they were. And they had to deal with adversity. You got David Alford, who is an incredibly fast and competent quarterback, go down in the Cairo Crisp County game. And then 11th grader, here comes
Dickie Lillard.
Thank you, Dickie Lillard. And Dickie did such a beautiful job on offense, but that defense you guys had was so tough. Now I want to pause that 81 team. 4 years later, you now have Coach Randy Ragsdale joins the group. And I want you to talk about Coach Ragsdale for a minute, because it seemed to me that the two of y'all, and tell me if I'm wrong, y'all hit it off instantly and just seemed like you were so in sync.
We did, because he was just coming out of Jacksonville State. He had a little Jacksonville State manual and so forth, and I told him, I said, Randy, you're gonna do a good job. You're gonna do a good job. And we got back from the state championship game. I said, now this is where you got to step in. I want you to meet the press out here. I said, I'm going in another door. I want you to meet the press, let them know what we did do and didn't do. And I said, that's gonna become what you need to do from now on. And so he took the defense, because he was ready for it. He really was ready for it, because he was a hardcore person. Great guy.
Ended up having a Hall of Fame career as a coach and administrator at Trinity in Montgomery. And I want you guys to look in the promo that I did this week for Coach. There's a beautiful picture of Coach Griffin and Coach Ragsdale right before the 85 game, or maybe the Tuesday practice. But that's where I kind of want to go. I want to talk just a few minutes about the 85 team and that season, because Coach, that was such a very different year and season from 81. Our team, they called the Cardiac Cougars. We had all those overtime games. Lawrence breaks his arm in the first quarter of the first game and is out for 3.5 games. It was just such an interesting season.
Everybody looked for us. And I go back to, that booster club that we had, unreal. I mean, they were unreal. Because I'm going to throw this in. We always had 2 buses, one for the high-spirited people, and the other ones for the people who were low-key. And I'll leave it at that. You can figure it out. But they were at every game, and when they got off the bus, wherever we went, they got off the bus. I remember a supporter by the name of Jeff McElroy. Jeff was at every game. He left the hospital here. He left the hospital without permission, came to a game because he was crying. He was crying because he heard some of the game on the radio, and he was not happy with the way the Cougars were playing. Those are the kind of people that we had who were really staunch supporters, and so he was until his death. He was really a Cougar, and so we have to acknowledge that those guys, and 85 group, like I say, with Robert E. Lee, in that game where we had to come back. The score was 27, I think 27-7, and we came back, and that last pass that free safety Derek Flowers knocked down, they were marching in. But it was 4th down. They caught the pass. We've been all over for us, but he knocked the pass down and a little out of position. But I didn't know whether they hurt him after the game or not. But he made an impact with that, because Coach Spitz McCracken at Lee said, "As long as I live, I will never let up." And he didn't let up. We came back on him. Your prize receiver, David Hogan, kept saying, "Give me the ball," and so
we did.
Some of our people were down 231 by then, because they had given up. Yeah. But those who were our staunch supporters, especially those who rode those 2 buses, they were going to stay to the end of every game. And of course, the score wind up 28-27. We go on to the state, and everybody else go home. And so that's the kind of those kind of people that we had. They were really true people to the game of football in support of Northview High School. Y'all did a good job in respect to play. You dedicated. We had great leadership on the 85 team. It was all in one place. And you wind up being a pretty good quarterback. I say it like that. And of course you had a lot of support. From the Chris Holmes on one side, who would catch anything that was close to him, but he couldn't go long on. Harris Stanley, state contender in track, on one side. David Hogan on the split side, just give me the ball. We had all the components there, but with so many things taking place, and so with all those things taking place, and when Dawson got hurt, and people said it's all over, you can't do it. We're gonna do it. It's not. We're gonna do it. And at the end, he gonna come along, and he gonna be back with us. And that's the game where we beat them to go to state. That was that was situation. Everybody was saying, "Hey, we can't do it because he hurt," and they beat us in real Hughes. Yeah. And so those things are forever on my mind. What we went through. Those two teams, 81, 85, were good teams, but another good team was 89. 89.
Coach, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we got more folks that want to say hey to you. Kevin Jackson. Oh, my ninth grade homeroom teacher, Mary Van Landingham, is with us. Justin Andrews. Oh, thank you guys. Of course, I'm talking with Coach Griffin. And you were about to hit on that 89 team that was a special team as well. Yeah, we did not have the talent like we had in 81, 85, but we had some working guys. We went
overtime, double overtime, I think, with Dothan, and Coach Fleming was quarterback. They had a mix up on the snap. Our nose guard jumped on it and recovered, and so we marched on to the next game. The thing I like about that situation, and I talk that junk all the time. The thing I like about it, the band, Dothan band had championship shirts on under the band uniform. The football players had it on, and they just couldn't do anything but lay out in the field. They might have had an edge as far as talent, but we outmaneuvered them that night. Defensively, we were just totally worn out. We were missing some parts, but we made it through, and those guys played their hearts out. Another one, and I keep going on, was in '93. We had the semifinal game at Rip Hughes with Anderson. I knew they had a great team, and Coach Chenard was a coach, I think, at that point. And so we made sure in my delivery of information to the head coach, I said, look, we got to do this, this, and the other. They got a premier state sprinter that's deadly. They go into him every other play. They did exactly that. I said, put one of our best people on him. I had Isaac Miller. We put on him, and coach didn't want to do it that way. I said, we're gonna get beat by that fella, and we did. We lost the game at Rip Hughes. We no doubt you couldn't have had a better situation than we had. Not putting it on anybody, because he was a tremendous coach. Haven't done it in the pros, the college, and so forth. But I said, I understand high school better than you do, and I understand the mindset of the kids. And so he said, "You're right." And that was and we played a great defensive game too. We just got beat by
sometimes
a receiver.
Yeah, sometimes the scoreboard just doesn't show truly how it goes. But Coach, I got two more questions for you, and I'm gonna get you out of here, I promise. And they're not easy ones for you. They're not quick answers. For all the years that you've been a teacher and a coach and a mentor and a parent and all the other titles that have been bestowed upon you, what has given you the most joy about being a leader of young individuals over these years?
Well, the thing that has given me a lot of joy has been the classroom. I taught in the classroom. I taught every day. I had to be dressed apart. I wanted to be an image thing. I wanted people to recognize that this was not a game. We were talking about somebody's education. We're talking about somebody's mindset in the future. That was probably more than any sports could mean. But I know that if you didn't get it in the classroom, you wouldn't be able to further your education anywhere else. So that's the joy. I could go back and teach now. I can't go back and coach because my mindset is too different, and the young people are different. I say it like that. So the classroom, but the most important thing is the discipline that the kids gain. Whether you're kicking a soccer ball or whatever you're doing, you got to be disciplined enough to play as a team. You can't do it. It's not a sport in high school that you can play. Not even golf, and I coached that for 3 years. It's not a sport that you can play because you got to depend on. You'll never win a state championship as a team unless you have 3 other scores. Mm-hmm. And so you got to have all the components necessary in order to win. And so when I stand in the classroom, I stood in the classroom. had lesson plans to do. I was playing every day. I did all of that. Besides going on the field coaching and the films had to watch it and so forth. I take a lot of pride in education. It means a great deal. It means a great deal to me for a person to be educated, because you can then make decisions as to what direction you want to go. But if I'm just out there playing sports, and I don't do it in the classroom, I just happen to be a good high school player. That's all you can say. But education is the number one thing, and I had to struggle with it with a lot of people who said that sports and so forth brought them there. No, sports can't bring you anywhere, because you have to have the academia to move forward, and the only way you're going to do it is to make sure that you do it in the classroom. That was a great thing for me. Just coming every day. I think I missed 3 days in close to 40 years of teaching and so forth. Only 3 days. And they were very, very important days that I missed. And so one of them, I think, was Kiana was small, and she was had some kind of sickness, and she complained all day what a mother would do if she was here. And so I'm glad I was not a cusser. I just I wanted to tell her, just call your mother and tell her to come home and take care of you.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Kiana's right off screen, and I don't know if she has an opportunity to defend herself. So I'm going to defend herself. I'm going to defend her for her. Coach, you know better. She was. All right, Coach, I got one more thing, and we're going to get you out of here. And I cannot thank you enough of what a beautiful conversation we've had, and I've sure enjoyed it. And from all the comments, you're going to have to get into these comments after we're off air, because there's just so many beautiful, beautiful words here for you. But Coach, you've hit on some of the things already about what I'm about to ask you. Over your almost 40 years of being in education and coaching and being around young people, every generation of adolescents, we change. Back when I was growing up, we didn't have internet, we didn't have phones, all that stuff. It was a different time. But there are consistent things that are always going to be there for the student athlete. You've mentioned education and how important it is. You've mentioned discipline and how important that is, and having goals and things. But my question to you is, as you've seen how children have changed over the years, there's a lot of those same consistencies, obviously. But are there things now that you wish that either parents would focus more on with their children, or that the children should really focus more on? Because a lot of things are just not as important as we may think they are at the time. Like what's my next Instagram picture going to look, that. So I want you to talk about that, because I know you still deal very much with families and young people, and I know it's important to you.
The biggest thing that I run into now is not a problem, but it is a problem. I hope I don't sound like I oxymoron, but the idea of spoliation, I'm putting words together. Kids are spoiled, and I'm the first one that would do any and everything to my kids and for my kids. And what we are missing now is we try to do things that we didn't do when we were children, instead of doing things, putting things. See, we had love. We didn't have nothing at home, but we had the love of God on the inside, and the family was tight. When I had that one piece of bacon, everybody else had a piece of that one piece. But now, because we put social media at the height of our lives, we buy all these expensive situations, and let me, I got to throw this this guy in, if you don't mind, because he's part of this situation that we're talking about. Commissioner Kevin Dorsey, who is, when I got to the hospital, he came and got me every day. He rode me around. I didn't even know. I had to get familiar with the city again. He was responsible for getting me an upgrade on telephone and so forth. He knew I couldn't. I didn't know what a telephone was. I had a little flip phone. They all said I had kept it too long.
Wait, you had a flip phone in 2021?
Yeah.
Still using a flip phone? Kenyatta, he was still using a flip phone in 2021?
Yes, yes. I must admit it, but I didn't never know where it was. So he said, listen, come ride with me. We went to a local phone place, and he said, this is what I want you to have. And that was the 5G, whatever. I still don't know what that means, but all I know is I want to call, I want to receive. Mm-hmm. And so the rest of it, I let y'all deal with that. But he's been so good to me. Mm-hmm. And that's my spiritual son. But the thing about it, there have been other people who have done the same thing, but because they did not have the access to buying their kids, so they came to me. What you think we ought to do? Let's chip in and get the child this or that. Mm-hmm. And so we do that. We spoil kids, give them love. Everybody shared love in every family. You might not have got along with everybody, but there was love somewhere that elevated you. And that's the same thing that elevated me was sheer love for all the people in my household. So I think if we get back, parents take a lesson and stop buying the child everything they want. Go ahead and get them what they need, and let the child work a little bit. And I don't care what kind of work. I took my oldest grandson with me. I think it was Hurricane Michael that tore. Michael was a rough boy, and that tore places up. But I took him around to through the city. I wanted him to see people who are professional, doctors and lawyers and so forth, who had a little bit more finance, but their kids were out pulling limbs. And I want my grandson to see this. I want him to understand that, sure, these kids might have college paid for already, in a college fund or what have you, but what are they doing now? They are here working, because now when they go back in the house, they can say that I was a part of the makeup. Mm-hmm. And that's what we take away from kids by thinking that we're helping them by giving them everything. No, don't give them everything. Let them suffer a little bit. Sometimes I have to think about that little 13-inch black and white television I had, with half antennas and so forth. But that was it. And so I tried to upgrade with my kids, as we all try to do with our kids. We try to make it better for them, and sometimes they're not able to accept that, mm-hmm. or receive it properly. So therefore, it might take them off the deep end, doing something that you're gonna feel sorry for later. And so I just believe if we can forever deal with things, give it back to with the kids in charge of some things in the house. Mm-hmm. This is your room, clean the room. Yeah. We might have a person coming in to clean the house, but that's fine. But this is your room. Yeah. You clean it. And so little small things.
But it means so much, because we live in a world of instant gratification largely because of technology. But that just getting back to some basics. but Coach, speaking of love, I can't tell you how much love you've gotten tonight from all the folks. And I apologize if you've been on with us or I missed you. I'm sorry, it wasn't intentional. It's just too many folks rolling through for me to get to all of them
Yeah.
with Coach tonight. But Coach Griff, I want to thank you for spending some awesome time with us. And if there's I'm going to give you the closing words. If there's anything else that you want to share, we've got the time.
It is. The next 2 hours, I want to say this. Now,
we're just getting started. Y'all roll up those sleeves.
I have two or three ideas in my mind. It's been on my mind for a while sick and couldn't move or go anywhere. All I could do is think about. I'm thinking about Northview High School, and so I'm looking at an exhibit or museum for Northview High School. I want to see this take place so bad. So I got to be in touch. If any realtor people listen tonight, you know and understand what I'm saying. I want to see this take place. I want to see a place designated Northview High School as a museum, an exhibit hall, and in that particular place, it doesn't have to be humongous, but something we can call our own. And if a class is having a upcoming reunion, you can come by and meet in there rather than trying to find a place to meet. I'm pretty sure that we can, out of all the good people that we have that's come through Northview High School, that we can get enough people that can help us fund something like that. This is just a thought, and I'll be putting it out there and getting some help putting it out there so we can make this thing a reality. That's the basic thing. I'll leave with that because a couple of things that I'll put in a memo or something that we can do. I can't lay down and just accept the fact that when I go over to Northview High School grounds, it's not Northview High School, it's Dothan High. Some of you might be able to get away with that and think, well, I can't. We put too much in it, and we deserve to at least have some memories. So I told bandman John Christian, I said, now listen, on the inside of this museum, when you walk in the door, dun, 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 I want to hear that. He said, I said, is it possible to hear that? I want to hear those chimes going, and I want to hear that fight song going when we walk in the door. And so I get happy when I talk about this, and I'm going to be in touch. Don't say I'm just on your nerves, but I got to be on your nerves. We got to get some feet in the sand if we're going to come on programs like this. And you're doing a great job. I want to tell you, you're doing a great job. And you need to have some kind of liaisons and so forth that could help you with your law practice and everything. It got to be taxing, but you don't have to answer that right now. But we need to get somebody helping you to do something like this. Do you know how many great minds you bringing together in a program like this? So many that have brilliant ideas. They just waiting on somebody to come in and say, hey, do this or do that. And so we have the people. I know we have a lot of interior designers and so forth that have come through the institution. And I usually say Beth Hemby. I know she's one, but it's so many. But that can come in and just say, hey, this don't go that place. It don't fit well there. Put it over there. Small things. So that's what we have to do, and I'm thankful that I can have a part, because I'll be there every day. I spend time there every day to make sure that it's run properly. So I thank everybody who took the time to share with us tonight, and I wish I could have spoken to you individually, but it was so much that we had to say that we couldn't help it.
Well, Coach, I'm not going to push you on this, but they're already asking for round 2 of our conversation next time. I don't know when we'll get to that. We'll let Coach rest a little bit, but we're going to stop for now. And I can't thank you enough, Coach. This has been such a fantastic conversation, and you sharing so much with us tonight. I want to just thank you.
Appreciate it. Keep doing the work, and keep calling, man. You might not get me soon, but keep calling, man.
Oh,
we'll get there after a while. I'll call Kiana.
That's right. I know how to find you now. But guys, as we do every Wednesday night, keep coming back. We've got more Cougars on the way, 7 o'clock each Wednesday night. Y'all continue to be safe out there for you and your families, and we'll catch you next week. Good night.